All right. Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. I am super excited to have Amber with me today. She is a mama to 3 kiddos, and she has an online skincare business. So I'm super excited to hear about your family business, the whole story, how you got going on this. So just kind of tell us a little bit about that first.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Okay, so I have been doing it for about a year now. I guess it'll be a year in May actually. So this month.
Yeah.
So yeah, it started. So I used to kind of work for, well, not work for, I guess kind of sell for another company, just like another skincare company. And my college roommate introduced it to me and we just kind of did it together and it was super fun. And but I just, the products were just really harsh on my skin. And I just kind of started noticing that they were burning my skin every once in a while. And I was just kind of, doing my own, and skincare was never like super high on my priority list. But, as I got older and I had twins and my skin just changed a bunch after my pregnancy with them. And so I was like, okay, I was kind of starting to like notice things about my skin. And I was like, she had kind of introduced me to this and I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. But after I had tried it, I had definitely noticed some improvements, but I started kind of noticing my skin more and more, differences in my skin. And I just started noticing it more. But I had also kind of started being more aware of what I was putting on my skin. And I was like, this can't be good. This can't be good for my skin when it was burning my skin. And, I started kind of being more aware of what I was putting on my skin. And so I kind of started doing research and it just kind of started my obsession with skincare was kind of that introduction to just what I was putting on my skin. And I just kind of started doing research, but that was kind of where it ended. I kind of started watching what I was putting on my skin, but it just kind of fell kind of there. And then my in-laws had gotten 2 baby goats, like, my oldest son was probably 5, and I think my twins were about 3 when they first got their 2 little goats, and we just became obsessed. We were just infatuated with them and we just loved them so much. And I think our obsession with them was about then. And it just kind of, once we kind of they started collecting goats and we just kind of started loving on goats more and more. And then I think they bought a pregnant mom. And that's when I was kind of like, it kind of sparked my interest, like, because with all of my research I had done, I had kind of heard different things about goat milk and how it was like so good for your skin and this and that. And it wasn't until we had bought our first goat and decided kind of the whole, breeding thing and kind of started to go down that route. I was like, but there has to be more to it than just having babies. Like we've got to be able to utilize, more to it than just that. And so that's kind of what led me to doing more research with goat milk and the benefits of it. And yeah, it just kind of led me into more research. And kind of a friend of mine said that she had made goat milk soap before. And so I kind of met up with her and she kind of taught me all that she knew about making it. And so then I just kept researching and, trial and error. And yeah, it just became kind of an obsession and I just fell in love with it. So
That's super great. So do you guys breed and sell these goats regularly? Is that like a business as well for you?
yes. Yeah,
Okay.
we just started. This was our first. So last season, my sister-in-law does it as well, and she just breeds the goats. And so last year was her, or maybe she's been doing it for 2 years. This year was our first spring. We bought baby goats last spring, and that was our first spring where we bought, I guess it was maybe 2 springs ago we bought them, but we didn't start breeding till last spring. And then this spring was the first time we actually sold some and we didn't actually keep any.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's been really fun. It's hard though it's hard to sell them. Like it's way harder than I thought it would be.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, but it's really fun. The kids, they love it and they get super involved and so it's been really fun.
Yeah, that sounds like a super fun family business to be involved with. So you just jumped online to research to kind of figure out how to make all of the products using the goat milk then.
Yes. Mhm.
Fantastic. So what different products are you currently making and selling?
So I have soaps and then I have lotions and I have a milk bath.
Very fun. And do you market yourself a majority online? Do you hit a lot of those fun little markets, those little pop-up markets that a lot of the makers and vendors go to? What is your main source for getting yourself out there right now?
Online for sure. I do a lot of online, Instagram, Facebook. I'm not the best, I will admit, at doing online. I struggle in that department. I need to get better at it, but online is definitely the best. But I'm a people person, so I love to be in contact with people, and so I do the vendor events in the summertime. We have like a little local farmers market
Fun.
that I go to, and then we have like a local barn sale that like the barn boutique
Uh-huh.
I go to they have it twice a year and that's one of my favorite events. And so I just, those are my favorite like events to do, obviously, because I get to talk to people about it and I get to answer questions and things like that. But online is also a great way because people can message me and ask me any questions that they want. But yeah, and so in the summertime is obviously, my favorite time to be at the markets and stuff like that. But
Yeah, that's super great and super fun. And I love there's so many moms out there that are selling things at these markets and that have come up with their own little businesses. It's so inspirational and it's been perfect for my little project, which I'm really, really enjoying. So tell us a little bit about having an online shop. Does it take a while and a little bit of effort to get people visiting the shop? How has that been for you? Any recommendations there? I mean, you're not into it too far now. It's only been a year or so that you've actually been doing this. So do you feel like you're still in that growing phase and expanding phase, where you're still just kind of getting that momentum going?
oh yes. And I actually didn't even start my online shop until probably January.
Okay.
And that was probably the most intimidating step for me,
Mhm.
just because I didn't want to be overwhelming, just because like being a mom is, number one for me. And I was so afraid that it was going to be like super overwhelming. And that was my scariest step to take. But the beauty of it is I would tell people like that when you feel ready to take that step, like just do it, because you can definitely go at your own pace. Like, I was so worried about what if stuff sells out? Like, what if, people have to wait for things and this and that. And at the end of the day, like people are okay waiting. Like people are great if stuff sells out. Like, I have not had one nasty comment, or that was always my fear, was like I
Yeah.
was just because I was new to all of the business world. Like I don't have a degree in business and I don't have any of that. So I just felt, I guess, inadequate a little bit. And but it has been such a good experience for me. And um but it's definitely a step. Like but it's been a good step. And growing it has definitely been harder, than I thought it would be.
Mhm.
But that's also me. That's also myself holding myself back. And so if you are ready to take that step and you're ready to do it, like my advice would just say do it and stay on top of it, because obviously no one was expecting COVID and
Right.
Corona to occur. And, I have to give myself a little bit of grace, because I'm now homeschooling 3 kids. And so I
Mhm.
know that had that not occurred, I probably would have been able to stay on top of it a little bit more. Um, but that being said, I'm so grateful that I've been able to step back a little bit and also focus on homeschooling my kids and keeping our life a little bit sane while all of this is occurring. So, um, it's I've been able to take it at my own pace, and I'm so grateful for that. And I I think it was 2 nights ago I sat down and was like, okay, let's get some things, let's get some things back in order. And I updated a bunch of stuff, and it's been great. And I'm kind of upset at myself I didn't do it sooner, but that's okay. Like, you live and
Yeah,
you learn.
I know, and I'm kind of right with you here. When I decided to start this project, I think I was having a bit of a midlife crisis, but um, the great news is it's never too late. You can get
Exactly.
things going, and I love, especially for moms, I love the fact that when they do have their own business, when things like this happen, when COVID-19 hit, you know, we need to be there for our families, and a lot of moms have just had to take a step back and just focus on their
Mhm.
families and kind of push the business aside a little bit. But that's the beauty of it. You wouldn't have been able to do that with a 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
You just never know what's going to happen, and so having that flexibility is super exciting, and I think that's super great. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about this particular industry and business and an investment. So if there's a teen watching this and she's thinking, you know what, I love animals, I just think this is amazing, I want to do something just like this when I'm older, what would you recommend in terms of saving, and how do you get that going? Because you have to have like the fun little containers to put your product in and labels, and so
Yeah.
there's probably a little bit more behind the scenes than we're not thinking about. So give us a little bit more information on there.
Yeah. So I would say, I mean, obviously you want to start out, slowly. And it is a process. Like, it definitely took, a little while. Like I said, our we purchased goats years ago, and that's kind of, where it all started. And then we started out with, like, because you have to milk them, we started out with like hand milking, and
Uh-huh.
that, and it's just kind of escalated up and up and up. And now we have like an electric milker, and, and I have a ton of support. And that is, my in-laws have land. Like, we don't have the goats here. We live about 10 minutes from my in-laws, and they um, they let us keep the goats there. And so, that's been a huge blessing for us. And um, they help a ton. Sometimes my sister-in-law will milk for me, and um, we have a ton of support, and they are so helpful. And so, um, I would say start off, if you want to start, you know, maybe if you love animals, and I guess do your research on the type of, because there's so many different types of milking goats. So maybe just do your research on what kind of goats you want. Ours, I have Nigerian dwarf goats because they're known for milking, and they're known for, their good milk. And so, um, we have those. And so yeah, we got a couple of those, and then it was years later that we kind of started everything, and just kind of collect things over the years. And um, I would say supplies, that was probably the biggest investment, but bulk items are definitely where you want. And there are, well, here in Boise, where we live, they have like restaurant chain supplies where you can buy bulk items, and they are a lot more inexpensive than buying, little jars at a time. And so that's where I do a lot of my shopping, is bulk. And then online they have bulk items that you can buy, jars and labels. And don't be afraid to ask for help on things that you don't know. Like, there has been, my brother, he is super amazing when it comes to computers and labels and all of that stuff. And I've reached out to him a ton and asked him so many questions. And and if it, you don't have a sibling or somebody, just somebody, or you would be amazed at how many people on Facebook, I have this question, can anybody help me? There are so many people that are willing to offer advice, or, and it doesn't have to be like, it's free advice. People are just willing to help and share their knowledge. And there's been many times when I've gone to people and just been like, okay, this is not my expertise. Like, can I have some advice on this? And just don't be afraid to admit that you don't know something, or that you're, struggling in a certain area. And people are so willing to share their advice with you, or give you, their expert opinion. And don't be afraid to use it and admit when you don't know something. Or I think that's been one of my strengths, is just being like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, this is not something that I am, familiar with. Please help me in this department. And I've gotten a lot of help, and so it's been really nice.
I think that's perfect. I think that's great advice. And I think it's okay not to have the answers and know, and that's kind of part of growing a business. So those are great things to think about. Did you have to have a tax ID or anything legally required in order to do what you're doing?
No. When I sold at some of the vendor events, they require, specific, like, for tax purposes. But like, to do it online and stuff, like, no, they just, because they're, the only time that they ever require stuff is for like tax purposes, just to make sure that you're paying your taxes.
Right.
But online, they just automatically take taxes out and stuff like that. So as long as you're paying your taxes and stuff like that, then they don't require, because I'm not handling food or anything like that. So
that's really good to know.
Yep.
So what have been your most favorite parts and your least favorite parts of this little business that you have?
My most favorite parts is probably the creativity. Like, I get to be creative with the labels, and I get to have fun with the scents. And like, I'm such a holiday person, so it's been really fun to like be able to do new creative scents around holidays and around springtime, just to come up with like different things like that. And like gift baskets and things like that have been really fun for me. I love all of that stuff, like the creativity side of it. And the least favorite parts are probably only the times when like I have a big event coming up and I'm just like it's usually my procrastination. Then I'm like not prepared. And so I'm just like really stressed, like trying to get everything made, everything wrapped. And those are just the times where I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I do this? But it's just my own fault. I'm like, I should have been prepared for this 2 weeks ago. And here I am 2 days before trying to get everything done. And so if I didn't procrastinate, then I wouldn't have that problem.
So what does an average day look like for you? I know that a majority of your day is probably with the kiddos and helping them out, but when it is time to focus on the business, do you have like a set amount of hours that you just try to squeeze in a couple hours? Is it morning, evening? Kind of how do you make that work for you?
Yeah. So I usually try to make soaps once a week. So I have my mother-in-law's brother. He has Down syndrome. And so he tries to come over and he works with me on Thursdays. And so we try to make soaps on Thursdays, and he loves to help. And so we usually try to do soaps or lotions on Thursdays. And then usually like with whatever we did, whether we made lotions or soaps, then usually, Monday evenings I wrap soaps or, label lotions, whatever it might be. And that's usually just in the evenings, because I can sit and watch a show with the husband while I wrap soaps or, do whatever I need to do. But usually, Tuesdays, I'm usually printing labels or making labels or doing whatever I need to do, or filling the lotion bottles, just depending on what we did on Thursday. So that's usually what I try to keep my schedule to. The last, obviously, couple of weeks have been a little bit crazy, but that's what I try to keep it, just because then I can keep up with it. But the lotions I try to keep pretty fresh. So I make soaps way more than I make lotions. So soaps are probably, 3 times a month, and lotions are probably just once a month, just depending on when I have events coming up, or, if people have ordered stuff and things like that. So
do you hand make your labels, or do you order those out to be printed and do it that way?
Lotion labels, I have them printed. And then the soap lotions or the soap labels, though, I print those off here at the house.
Okay, fantastic. So, any advice for like-minded teens to know if this could be a good fit for them? What is the best way to just get some experience and knowledge in this skincare making business to see if it's something they would even want to do?
Well, I would say, like, if you're into like beauty at all, like, because I've always been kind of like in love with like hair and like,
Mm.
you know, I've never been a big makeup girl, which is kind of funny, but I've always been like, I always kind of wanted to like look into aesthetic school or hair school or anything like that. Like, I always thought that that could be like a fun career. And so I think if you like that kind of an avenue, and I love to bake. And so I was like, you know what? I don't know. I think that maybe because like making soaps is like, it's a lot. It's very similar to baking. And so it's just, measuring out ingredients and throwing it in because I use the hot process. So it's thrown it all in a crock pot and kind of waiting for it to bake. And then you mix it all up. And so you just get to have fun with it. And so I would say if that sounds appealing to you and that's kind of up your alley, then I would say that this would probably, suit you just fine. And I'm always open if anybody reaches out, or I would love to have a little shadow or anything, and anybody would, be interested, but I don't know. I never thought in a million years I'd probably be making goat milk soap, but
Right.
like I'm a military brat. So goats would probably, if you would have told me I would be raising goats and milking them, I'd have been like, what?
It's kind of funny how life kind of comes together for you and
Yeah.
how things turn out. It would be fun. Maybe you should do like little girls' nights where they can all come over and give you some cash and they can have a fun night learning how to make something or
Yeah, exactly. I know. I still
some.
have some things that I'm wanting to kind of like explore too. So I'm like, I still got a couple more things that I'm like, okay, I want to try that now. I'm like ready for, a couple more things. So
Yeah, I think this is awesome. I just love that this kind of fell into place for you, and you probably weren't even expecting something like this, but it's taking off. You're successful. Things are coming together, and it's super great. I mean, goat's
yes,
milk products of all
right.
things. It's awesome.
Thank you. Yes, it's been so fun, and I'm so glad, and I'm so grateful.
Fantastic. So before we wrap up, any last words of advice for teens, anything that you'd want to tell them? I know that you just love being a mom, and being a mom is so exciting, and hopefully they'll want to do that too, but just any last thoughts from you before we go?
I would just say, just don't get discouraged. Don't feel like you have to have everything planned. Like I was always that way. I always felt like I had to have everything planned out. And like, I was such a planner and I just knew everything was going to go my way, and just, it doesn't. And that's okay. And don't get discouraged. Like you will find exactly what you're supposed to be doing, and it will all work out, and you will be so happy. And just know that, there's a plan, and you will be happy, and just follow your heart.
That's perfect. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much again, Amber. I will be sure to put your information when we post this video so everyone knows where to find you. And if there's some local people that view the video and they want to go check out the Barn Boutique and get some product, that would be awesome. Super, super grateful for you taking some time with us today. And I'm sure I will see you at the barn sale as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.